The most painful moment is when an avoidant partner finally realizes that they have lost your love. Just think, the person to whom you gave everything, your time, your energy, your love, they only gave you distance in return. They saw the care in your eyes, yet still ignored it. They felt the pain hidden in your silence, yet still said nothing. And the irony is, they only realize your value when you finally step back, when your heart says enough, no more. And in that moment, something inside them breaks. But the question is, why does it always happen like this? Why do they realize your importance only when you've already walked away from their life? Why does your love become priceless to them only when you are no longer there to give it back? And for you, that moment is the most painful, because you spent years, months or days, trying to show them that you only wanted to stay by their side. And when you got tired, when you pulled your love back, only then did they realize, I've made the biggest loss of my life. And that realization becomes their greatest punishment. Think about it. You gave everything. Your love, your patience, your care. You stood by them when they pulled away. You waited in silence when they built walls. You tried to reach out when they pushed you aside. And the question is, how long can anyone take that kind of distance? How many nights can someone cry themselves to sleep, waiting for a single sign of effort from the other side? How many mornings can you wake up, hoping today will be different, but finding the same cold silence? You weren't asking for the world. You weren't asking for perfection. All you wanted was connection. All you needed was for them to meet you halfway. But instead, every step you took forward, they took 2 steps back. Every time you tried to hold on, they found a new way to let go. And it breaks you, doesn't it? Because deep inside, you start wondering, am I not enough? Am I asking for too much? Am I the problem? But the truth is, you were never the problem. Your love wasn't too much. It was exactly what real love looks like. It was their walls that were too high, their fears that were too heavy, and still, you stayed. For days, for months, maybe even years, until one day, something inside you whispered, enough. Because even the strongest heart has limits, even the most patient soul has boundaries, and even the deepest love can grow tired of waiting. So you stepped back, not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself. And in that moment, the very moment you walked away, that's when they realized you were the biggest loss of their life. In that moment, something inside them begins to break. Not loud, not visible, but quietly, silently, deep within. They start replaying every memory, every time you smiled at them, even when they were distant, every time you reached out, hoping they would finally hold your hand, every time you chose to stay, when they gave you every reason to walk away. And suddenly, it all hits them. The love they pushed away was the love they always needed. The patience they ignored was the patience that kept the relationship alive. The care they dismissed was the very thing that made them feel safe. Inside their mind, one thought begins to whisper, if only I had accepted that love when I had it. If only I hadn't pushed so far away. They imagine what life could have been if they had opened up, if they had trusted you, if they had let their guard down just once. And those what-ifs become their silent torture, because by now it's too late. The messages they didn't answer now feel like missed lifelines. The hugs they avoided now feel like oxygen they can't breathe anymore. The moments they brushed aside now feel like treasures they threw away. And here's the heartbreaking truth. They don't break down in front of you. They break down in their own private world. In their bed at night, staring at the ceiling. In the car, when a song reminds them of you. In the silence, where no one can hear their regret. They may never admit it out loud, but inside, they're whispering to themselves, you were the one who loved me the way I always wanted, and I let you go. That's the silent breakdown of an avoidant partner, not with words, not with apologies, but with the endless weight of what if, and that weight, it follows them everywhere. And here lies the greatest irony. The moment you finally stop turning back, That's when they start running after you the most. When you were there, waiting, hoping, holding on, they had excuses. They told themselves you'd never leave, that your love was endless, that no matter how far they pushed you away, you'd always return. But the day you didn't return, their world flipped. Suddenly, the same silence they once created feels unbearable to them. The same distance they built now feels like a prison. The same walls they hid behind start to suffocate them. They try to call, they send messages, they look for ways to cross your path again, and every step they take now feels desperate, panicked, uncontrollable. But here's the tension. It's no longer the same. Because your energy has shifted, your heart has learned to protect itself, your soul has realized it deserves peace, and the more you stay firm in that strength, the more restless they become. They start chasing shadows of you, scrolling through old pictures, listening to songs that remind them of your voice, even replaying conversations in their mind, wishing they could rewrite them. But no matter what they do, you're not turning back. And that's where the suspense deepens. Because avoidants are triggered not by connection, but by loss. Not when love is present, but when it's gone. So the irony of it all, they only run the hardest after you, when you've already stopped running after them. They only feel the fire of love when your flame no longer burns for them. And that chase, it's not about winning you back. It's about trying to escape the truth that terrifies them the most. They lost someone who would never have given up on them, until they forced you to, and now, they're haunted by the very thing they always feared, real intimacy. Here's the truth. Avoidants are not driven by connection, they are driven by loss. When love is present, when it's consistent, available right in front of them, their brain doesn't interpret it as safe. Instead it feels overwhelming, too close, too intense, so they push it away. But when love disappears, when silence replaces presence, when distance becomes permanent, when the person who once stayed finally walks away, their brain reacts in panic. It's not that they didn't care before, it's that their survival system was wired differently. They confuse closeness with danger, they confuse intimacy with risk. So when you loved them openly, they thought I need to protect myself, and when you left, they thought I can't survive without them. That's the paradox of the avoidant mind. They don't wake up to the value of love in its presence. They wake up to the pain of love in its absence. And suddenly, everything they once avoided becomes everything they crave. The touch they resisted becomes the touch they long for. The words they dismissed become the words they replay. The presence they pushed away becomes the presence they chase. But here's what you need to understand. This realization is not about you being not enough. It's about their conditioning, their wiring, their unhealed past. Because somewhere in their childhood, closeness didn't feel safe. So they trained themselves to run from it, until they lose someone who proved that love can actually be safe. And that's why their regret cuts so deep. Because deep inside they know, they didn't just lose a partner, they lost the very proof that love could have been different for them. So yes, avoidants only realize love after it's gone, not because you weren't enough, but because loss, not love, is what finally wakes them up. But remember this, your worth does not depend on their late realization. Your value is not defined by how long it took them to see you. Your value is defined by you. For too long you measured yourself through their eyes. You waited for them to recognize your love. You prayed for them to finally appreciate your efforts. You hoped one day they would wake up and say, "You mean everything to me." But here's the truth. Even if that day never comes, your worth doesn't shrink. Even if they never say the words, your love doesn't lose its power. Because your love was never small. It was never weak. It was never less. It was real. It was pure. It was strong enough to show up every day even when they didn't. And now, it's time to take that strength back to yourself. You don't need their validation to know you are worthy of love. You don't need their apologies to confirm your value. You don't need their regret to prove that you were enough. Because the truth is, you always were. When they failed to see you, it didn't make you invisible. When they failed to appreciate you, it didn't make you unworthy. When they failed to hold you, it didn't make your love any less powerful. It only proved one thing: they weren't ready for the kind of love you carried. So instead of waiting for their delayed recognition, choose to recognize yourself. Choose to honor the love you gave. Choose to believe that someone out there will not just notice it late, they will notice it right away, and cherish it fully, because your value is not tied to their loss, it is tied to your truth, and your truth is this: you are worthy, you are enough, and you always have been. Think about it. Do you really want to waste your life waiting for someone who couldn't even see your worth when you were right in front of them? Or do you want to share your love with someone who will understand it, respect it, and value it, right here, right now? That is the choice in front of you. You can keep standing in the same spot, hoping one day they'll change, waiting for their realization, waiting for their apology. But how many years of your life will you give away to waiting? How many dreams will you sacrifice? How much of your heart will you leave on hold for someone who may never arrive? Or you can choose differently. You can choose to take back your power. You can choose to say, my love is too precious to waste on waiting. You can choose to give that love to yourself first, and then to someone who recognizes it without delay. This is not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Proving that your life has meaning beyond their validation. Proving that your story does not end with their regret. So I ask you, what path will you take? Will you keep chasing someone who only wakes up after losing you? Or will you rise, stronger, clearer, and choose someone who values you before it's too late? The challenge is simple, but powerful. Stop waiting for their realization. Start living in your own recognition. Because the moment you decide to walk forward, the moment you choose yourself, the moment you stop waiting, that is the moment your real life begins. So ask yourself, right now, do you want to stay stuck in their story of loss? Or do you want to step boldly into your story of worth? The choice is yours. Never measure your worth through their eyes, because losing your love will always be their loss, not yours. You were the one who showed up. You were the one who cared. You were the one who gave love in its purest form. And they couldn't hold it. They couldn't see it. They couldn't honor it. But that doesn't make you less. That doesn't make your love small. It only means they weren't ready for what you carried. So let them live with their regret. Let them carry the weight of what they lost. But don't you carry it with them, because your story doesn't end with their silence. It begins with your strength. It begins with the moment you decide, I am enough, I am worthy, I am love. And that is the truth. No one can take away from you. So if these words touched you, if you've ever felt unseen in love, or forgotten, or pushed away, remember, it was never your fault. Your love was not wasted. It was a gift that will find the right heart, the right person, the right place. And until then, keep loving yourself the way you once loved them, because your worth has never been in question. And if you believe this message matters, share it, comment your story, like it, subscribe for more, so together, we can remind the world real love is never lost.